And now we take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. First off, with just 48 hours to the next phase of Nigeria's new tax regime, President Bola Tinubu has ruled out any delay speaking for the first time on allegations of legislative alterations to the newly enacted tax reforms. In a personally signed statement on Tuesday, Tinubu said the new tax laws, including those that took effect on June 26, 2025, would proceed as scheduled, describing the reforms as a once-in-a-generation opportunity to build a fair, competitive, and robust fiscal foundation for the country. The president says the reforms are not designed to raise taxes, but to support a structural reset, drive harmonization, and protect dignity while strengthening the social contract. Acknowledging public debate over possible alterations, Tinubu said no substantial issue has been established that warrants a disruption of the reform process, adding that absolute trust is built over time through making the right decisions, not through premature reactive measures. Also, the Central Bank of Nigeria has projected a stronger macroeconomic outlook for the country, forecasting a significant growth in external reserves to $51.04 billion in the 2026 fiscal year. Besides, the Apex Bank sets the real gross domestic product growth at 4.49% and predicted a further moderation in inflation to an annual average of 12.94% next year. The projections were contained in the CBN's latest macroeconomic outlook for Nigeria, published on its official website yesterday, where it reiterated that recent policy reforms will begin to yield more durable macroeconomic stability. In other news, Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court, Abuja, on Tuesday ordered the remand of former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami, SAN, at Kuje Correctional Center, Abuja, pending the hearing of his bail application. Nwite made the order shortly after Malami, his son, Abdulaziz Malami, and an employee of Rahamaniya Properties Limited, Hajia Asabe Bashir, were arraigned on a 16-count criminal charge by Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Although they pleaded not guilty to the entire count and their lawyers moved an oral application for their bail, the court declined to take the oral application on the grounds that it would amount to denying the prosecution the right to a fair hearing. According to the judge, there is evidence of a written application for bail, which was served on the prosecution on Tuesday in court, and the prosecution by law needs time to respond to the written application just served on it.
Bail was made by the defense, mainly on the ground that the alleged offenses are offenses that are bailable, and that the defendants do not in any way constitute a flight risk, and that in the circumstance, the court should exercise its discretion in admitting them to bail. And also fundamentally that under the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, particularly Section 162, does not provide that applications must be in writing. Of course, we relied on the decision of the Court of Appeal in Abiola and FRN to make this application. But the court, in its wisdom, ruled that the prosecution should be allowed on the circumstance to respond, having already filed a written application for bail, and consequently, in the circumstance, adjourned it to 2nd of January for the hearing of the bail application. Yes, of course, we are pleased with the outcome of the ruling. As we all know, bail is entirely at the discretion of the court, and the court, in its wisdom, feels strongly that in the circumstance, the prosecution should respond. Why not? We are pleased with it. On Friday, by the special grace of God, we'll be here to take the application, and we'll leave everything to the court to decide.
All right. Rufai, the stories, two stories, big stories this morning. Of course, first on the tax laws, the president is doubling down saying we're going ahead. It's not 48 hours, it's actually 24 hours less than to the date when it's meant to be in full implementation. And also, of course, the developing story on the former Attorney General of the Federation, Malami, and his arraignment in court yesterday. Your take on these stories?
Real quickly, I feel quite very taken aback. And if this government wants integrity, I want people to believe them. You need to be able to show it. The president writes in the statement, say, okay, we're doubling that, we're going ahead. I understand the cries of the people, but it's not enough to be able to suspend. In a law where you can still show us the harmonized law that was initially sent across, then it brings about the case of integrity. And if they cannot show us that harmonized copy, to be able to compare with what they gazetted, then something really, truly happened. And that's why they're quickly going ahead to re-gazette. And it's very sad. It's very sad. It's not going to take us anything to be able to clear that conundrum. You see, you keep talking about the mistrust of government. These are the things that bring about the mistrust. So all the hue and cries was in vain. Does the president think anybody wants to stop the tax law? We're saying integrity. You can't build something on nothing. This, you're trying to build something on nothing. If the harmonized copy is different from what was gazetted, and there's a conundrum around it, a lawmaker raised it. It wasn't Nigeria, it wasn't civil society. A lawmaker that is privy to the harmonized copy raised it. And today we are saying, okay, release that harmonized copy. We've not seen the result of the committee, and you, the president, say, okay, go ahead. What the president have just done is he has not put pay to the controversy about the tax laws. It will continue to rage. People will continue to talk about a forged tax law. That's what he has just done. So I hope his media handlers will not start abusing people when they start to complain about it and raise it in the new year and raise it around the election cycle that we spoke about this. And you did nothing about it. So for those that advise him to go ahead, yeah, go ahead. You have your way, right? You've shown you are the president. You don't listen to the voice of the people. It's all about you. You have the mighty power. You are the president. The people don't matter. Voices don't count. That's it. That's what you've shown. So go ahead. Have it your way, Mr. President. Enjoy yourself. You are the president, right? And nobody can challenge you. So when people raise concerns about a very important matter like this, you just shush them and say, we have to go ahead. Even when the National Assembly called for a review into the matter, we have to go ahead. It speaks volumes about the separation of powers in this country. And it shows that the National Assembly has a rubber stamp. It's a joke and nothing but a joke. This is how democracy starts to crumble. Happy for all of us. As regards to the projections, and congratulations to Wale Edu, by the way, for his, is it CVO he got now from King Charles? Yeah, congratulations to him. Like Dr. Bati will say fondly, there are implications. As regards the projections, yes, projections for the new year, quite very good. 4.49%. If that happens, that will be just 1% ahead of population growth. And projecting about 51 trillion for reserves, yes. But you see, we keep touting this reserve. Yeah, to be able to cater to our imports and all of that. But we also have a country where the budget is not effectively funded. I mean, look at the discrepancy of what happened between what they said they got in revenue and how they could fund the budget. We'll be going into a new year with running 2 budget cycles concurrently. At least the 2025 budget runs up to March. Last year, the same thing. And why all of this happening? Funding issues. We're not getting well on funding. We say, okay, because we want to wrap up funding. Even the funding we get, the question is, what are we doing with them? How much are we seeing it? All the promises they promised turned out to be lies. Promise number 1, if we pull out subsidy, we'll use the savings to improve infrastructure and do a lot more. It didn't happen. We use it to better the lots of people. It didn't happen. No, we're giving more money to governors. In fact, the governors are not even saying, but the federal government, you have 52%. Am I the one that is getting the government contractors to protest? No, because they are not well funded. Am I the one that's the Minister of Health that said the other day that his capital expenditure budget, you only got about 15% of it? I think maybe for the last budget cycle. I'm not the one. So yes, we can say, okay, growth is there and everything. But the core thing that goes back to the people as regards to infrastructure and all of those spending, it's not been done. So we're going to a 2026, fingers crossed. And let's not also forget, it's going to be a year that will be low on governance. Politicking has started full. I mean, you can see people campaigning everywhere already. I think Peter Obi is going to make a declaration today or thereabout. So it's going to be politicking year. And if with last year we couldn't even effectively fund our budget, how are we sure we're going to do the same this year? Which is going to also have some uptick of inflation because of political spending. So amazing times for Nigeria, but Happy New Year, wish you the best.
Dr. Bati.
Okay, yes. Three interesting subjects. I hope I'll have enough time to dimension them appropriately. Let me just dismiss the issue about Abubakar Malami and his family and to say that this is just a basic judicial process. The learned justice said he could not take oral and written applications at the same time. The written applications that have been sent to the prosecutor said, the counsel to the prosecutors, namely the EFCC, said, they got it late Monday night. They needed time to study it. And then Justice Nwite said, look, we can't take both together. So on the basis of that, he said the accused persons should be remanded in prison. Daudu, SAN, was saying, let us take the oral application. And he said, no, let them wait first. We'll take it on January 2. So it's procedural. As I said the last time, it is important that people do not engage in media trial, because it's very easy when somebody has a case with the EFCC, reminding everyone that nobody is above the law, there's nobody that cannot be investigated. People should not just jump to conclusions. You wait till the matter is determined. But there's a lot of media trial and persecution in this country. So I restate that point. Now, two, as for tax, I wrote a very lengthy piece on it on Tuesday on the back page of this day newspaper. And I was saying that, look, this matter started since August 2023. It was one of the first things that the Tinubu administration did by setting up a fiscal policy and tax reform committee led by Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, formerly of the PwC. And what were the objectives? To harmonize the tax system in Nigeria, to reform it, to put people first, to make sure that taxation will drive economic growth, to ensure a broadening of the tax net, which we have always asked for, and then to advance progressivity. If you look at the document that was given to us, the gazetted, official gazette given to us to Mr. Oyedele, in the preamble, the last point was about trust and for the benefit of all Nigerians. However, that trust has been the major lodestar, the major thing around the neck of that reform process. Now, first, it was northern governors and northern elites protesting over the VAT provisions there, and then some accommodation was reached. They said they were not consulted. Another round of consultation was carried out because they were saying the law, as proposed, it was a bill then, would be to the benefit of Southerners. And then they looked at it. Then they decided on 50% equality, 30% derivation, 20% whatever. The whole argument about derivation was resolved at that level. And then this new round of controversy was kick-started by Abdulsamad Dasuki, Sokoto PDP, an opposition member, who said he noticed certain discrepancies. Now we have raised certain questions on this table. Where is the official harmonized copy by the Senate? The clerk of the National Assembly, his name is, I think it's Ogunlano Esquire. He was the one that signed all the 4 laws, generally known as NTA, Nigerian Tax Acts. Now, why has the National Assembly not spoken as a body? The protest is from the House of Reps. The only person who has spoken from the Senate is Senator Ali Ndume, who is on the screen right now. I think by way of transparency, Nigerians should have been provided a copy of the harmonized copy that they sent to the executive arm of government, so that we don't have this issue about violation of the principle of the separation of powers. But nobody has been courageous enough to give us. Most of the people protesting, they have not even read the 2 copies. And the copies at issue are sections 28, section 29, section 48, sub 1, section sub 2, section 60, sub 1, about, court orders and all of that. So totally about 4 or 5 sections. Now, what is my conclusion? I say we should not throw away the baby with the bathwater. In other words, a law is a living document. 2 of those laws are already active since June 2026. The only one that is contentious is the Nigerian Tax Administration, to which the sections that I have quoted would directly refer. So, if there is any issue in any law, then you follow due process, you review it, you amend it. Because it seems to me that to a large extent, both the ignoramuses who have not seen concrete evidence, who are jumping to conclusions, and the persons who probably are more familiar with the subject, they're all saying suspend the law, suspend the law. I don't think that is the right way to go, my own opinion. But there is this consensus that we need tax reform in this country. We need the harmonization to address the multiplicity of taxes that one of the laws deals with. And I think that is a bold step, reform step, by the Tinubu administration. It's bold, it's courageous. And I have no objections to President Tinubu saying, look, let us go ahead, but we are open to addressing whatever challenges anybody may say, or omissions or distortions that they have seen. But the final point is that nobody likes the taxman. Whether it was in the Abarayos women of 1929, or the 1948, 1949 protests in Abeokuta, or the 1945, 1946 protests in Onitsha, in this country. Whether during colonial times or now, nobody likes the taxman. There was one other parenthetical issue that you brought up.
Projections for next year for the economy from the World Bank.
Okay. The projection.
Yes.
Now, even the CPPE, Dr. Muda Yusuf, he has even said that the growth that we should expect next year, optimistic, could be about 4.5, 4.9. Well, it may be overly optimistic. But what I find interesting is that those who are experts in the subject area have also said that whatever optimism we may have, either the figures you have quoted or the CPP has quoted, is that there are issues that will determine the outcomes. One will be volatility in the oil sector, the performance of the non-oil sector, reactions to this tax issue that we are talking about, and then more importantly, geopolitical tensions, and also insecurity. These are the major determinants that I've seen the experts identifying. So it's not given to just say, oh, this is the projection from CBN, this is the projection from CPPE. We should pay attention to those determinant factors and whether those will affect the outcome eventually. But what we expect, what the theory and the experts tell us, is that Nigeria will be in a better place if we can even do double-digit GDP growth, economic growth, if we can even do better than the projection either by CBN or by the Center for Private Enterprises Promotion.
Right. So on the tax tax law and the fact that the president has released a statement that come January 1, the date is sacrosanct, it's going to be implemented, and called for the support of Nigerians to implement this. This has been an ongoing conversation, debate, some people might call it, because there have been people who are for and those who are against. We even had with us here a few days ago Mr. Taiwo Yedele, who is the chairman of that reform committee, of the tax reform committee, and who spearheaded this tax reform and now the tax law, and who had made a case for why it was important to go ahead despite the many calls from different quarters to suspend or even do away with it based on the allegations made or the statements made by the member of the House of Reps, Honorable Dasuki, that what was gazetted was not the same thing as what was passed as a harmonized copy of the law by both the Senate and the House of Representatives. There are critical issues here. And the question I asked Mr. Ayodele on that day was the area around crisis of legitimacy and how this will be managed. That beyond the call, already there were dissenting voices here and there. There is a pervasive distrust between the people and the government, and he had done a massive job in trying to educate, break it down so that people have information and can, with information, trust the process. Unfortunately, the last few weeks has almost eroded the extent of the work that has been done because there are a number of unanswered questions. And I believe for a lot of Nigerians, what would be on their mind is, why is there so much secrecy and points hidden by the administration in terms of the tax laws? And I'll bring up some of the things with regards to this. One of it is that we haven't yet seen a harmonized copy. It shouldn't be rocket science for Nigerians to place a demand and ask for what was passed by both houses, by the National Assembly, and to be able to compare in the spirit of accountability and transparency so that we can put to rest these accusations and counter-accusations. Like the PDP said in opposition, that the Nigerians have demanded a thorough investigation of this anomaly and sought to know who carried out the illegal insertion and how it was done to restore the integrity of the process. Now, this is not a giant ask. This is not a big ask. And what this means, is that what this infers is that there is truth in what has been accused or what has been alleged, that there's something not right and somewhere in the process something illegal has happened. And that is the crux of the matter. It's not because I think we've been able to win the battle of Nigerians in terms of, okay, let us try out this. Let us believe in the administration's will for better tax administration, widening the tax base. But then when you have a matter like this that's still outstanding, it erodes the trust and the confidence of the people on a law that is supposed to impact the nation and people, significantly. And so one of the things we're asking for, yes, we understand the importance of the new tax laws. Yes, we've been able to hear and understand the case for why it should come into implementation on the 1st of January. But there's still that issue of trust. And if there's no trust, if there's a legitimacy crisis, it means that people are more loath to want to pay taxes under a flawed system. And this is one thing that they ought to address. This is what we have called for consistently. If it does go ahead tomorrow, as the president has doubled down on, then what we'll be calling for is more engagement. And I saw that Mr. Taiwo Yedele was with Babcock University. He's asked the universities to partner with them in raising awareness. He's called for more influencers. It is to break down information because there's also been a lot of misinformation, lies and propaganda around the tax laws. Let the people know. But I do think that it would be a stain on this administration if we're not able to get to the bottom of what truly happened. Because if it happened with the tax laws, how do we then trust other laws that are passed under this administration if someone can willfully, unilaterally insert or add information that was not passed by the National Assembly? These are the issues. Now, going on to, let me tie it in with the AGF, former AGF's case. What I had said yesterday was that we must have institutions and systems that work enough so that when we talk about revenue generation and moving away from oil dependency through this tax law, as part of what the tax law is meant to address, that the money is properly accounted for and not looted. Yes, he is innocent until proven guilty, but the optics look absolutely wrong. And we have seen he's not the first. We have seen a number of public office holders who have been accused of mass, of mass fraud or mass corruption. And we see the people's money being looted, being taken by one person or a few individuals. And so if we're going to make a case for people paying taxes, we must also make a strong case for a judicious and transparent, accountable use of the money that people are paying. Because when we look at the economy, it's difficult for a lot of people. It takes a lot. A lot of people are facing hardship. And so if you're asking us to pay more money, then you must be able to demonstrate very clearly that what the money is being used for is towards infrastructure. We talk about social contracts. If the people pay taxes, obey the law, if they engage in civil responsibilities, then the government on their own part must also be able to demonstrate that they're ready to meet the people with that social contract, which is an unwritten rule. And so those are the things that we're asking about. And yesterday I said the optics was bad with regards to that, but the most important thing is to see a seriousness to cases such as this. If he's found to be innocent, absolutely great to know that he would be exonerated. But if he's found to be guilty, the main thrust of this is how do we prevent incidents like this from happening, so that after people have paid taxes next year under the new tax laws, we don't hear down the line that someone looted billions of naira in a parastatal or in a ministry. Those are some of the issues here, but we'll definitely follow the case very closely. In a few minutes, we're going to have Tilewa Adebajo speak more on the projections by the CBN, as well as a general overview of the economy in the last 1 year and projections for 2026.